Good morning and welcome to today's Traders Report from 3.0 So I'm just going to begin with a look at interest rates and the expectations that's actually occurred over the past month. So we can see a month ago there's actually a 91% chance of a rate cut. And that really swung around to a week ago, just a 44% chance. So the majority actually shifted to the majority chance of a no change in interest rates. And this reflected or was reflected in the market with extreme negativity. We've seen the big sell off. I think it's about 25% sell off in Bitcoin and even greater with some of the other altcoins as well. But thankfully, now we've seen a swing back towards a majority chance of a rate cut. So we're now almost 70% chance of a rate cut come December 10th. And it's getting closer now. So as we get closer and we get more chance of a potential rate cut, that's probably positive for the market. So despite the extreme sell-off, and we'll look at fear and greed in a moment as well, but despite that extreme sell-off, I'm relatively positive that we could well see a turnaround. So just taking a look at the FedWatch tool, I use this quite a lot to examine how likely we are to see an interest rate cut in the future. So again, we can see here almost 70% chance of a cut come December 10th. So what's interesting, I actually went through the whole of next year at the meetings next year, and there's actually the odds are that we're going to see 3 more cuts next year. Now, this is reasonably positive. It's a good positive backdrop. It means there's going to be an easing in monetary policy, probably good for liquidity, and means that more money will flow into risk assets like Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, stock markets, S&P 500, and so on. So I think that's reasonably positive. And just looking, I mean, we can see now, as I say, the chances are of a cut to 3.5 to 3.75. And if I go right ahead to next December, I'm talking about over a year away now, the meeting next December, the chances are, the majority chance is that we'll see rates at 2.75 to 3. So that's basically a cut December 10 on this December 10, 3 more cuts next year. So that's actually 4 cuts factored in over the next just over 12 months. So we are expecting considerable easing in the market, and hopefully that will translate to positive asset prices. So just as I mentioned, we'd flip over to fear and greed here. We can see actually the situation is improving now. So we went from extreme fear, actually it's not really showing here, but we did see extreme fear of a reading of 10, which was right down here on the dial, very extreme fear. And that is a time when you normally see a potential turnaround in markets. And we've begun to see a turnaround, I think, a tentative turnaround. We'll look at Bitcoin in a moment. We now have a reading of 19. So we can see that that extreme fear is receding a little bit. It's still in the extreme fear reading section, but I think it's gradually improving. So now we'll flip over to the markets. I was just looking at oil, by the way, which was quite interesting to see. Oil price has been falling. That's probably possibly reflecting a bit of weakness in the dollar. If we look at dollar index, this isn't really the order I'd expect to look at it. But anyway, let's look at dollar index now. We can see the dollar weakening here. This is dollar index. This is a long held channel right back to 2009, where we've seen an increase in the dollar, the strength of the dollar over that time, which actually correlated with an increase in Bitcoin price. But shorter term, we see an inverse correlation. So short term, while we saw the price here falling, we saw Bitcoin price increasing, and sorry, as we've seen dollar falling here, yeah, we've seen Bitcoin increasing. We're seeing a little bit more dollar strength, and that's actually correlated with some weakness in Bitcoin. So it may well be that this is just some sort of small correction, so maybe an ABC correction of some sort. We may yet see somewhat lower to come in the dollar. Now that would align nicely with our expectation that interest rates are going to ease over the next 12 months, beginning probably this December 10th meeting. But if we see an easing of interest rates, that means there's less likelihood people piling into the dollar. So we'll see weakness in the dollar. And that normally correlates shorter term with strength in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. So that aligns nicely with my expectation. This movement up here is clearly 3 waves. So that's not impulsive to the upside, but this is 3 waves down. There's no impulses basically. So overall, I see this from here to here as a corrective type of move. We may well move a little bit higher, just possibly a touch higher, but I think we're there or thereabouts in terms of completing this corrective move from here. So because of that, I'm expecting the dollar to fall in value with those weaker or lower interest rates, and that should correlate with a pump in risk assets like Bitcoin. So we'll just have a quick look, move over to Bitcoin. There's some interesting ones. We'll flip through a few today. But again, we can see some good strength here. We saw potentially a capitulation wick, and normally at a turning point in prices at the bottom, you'll see a wick down where they test lower and fail and then start to move higher. And you see that at the bottom of every move down, almost every move down. Before it moves high, you'll see that capitulation wick, where people basically are selling off, but it's not sustained and prices start to rise again. So that's exactly what I think we've seen here. I've got labeled Y, and we're moving up now quite impulsively to the upside. So I'm hoping that continues now with the supporting lower interest rate environment. And same goes for Ethereum. Ethereum has been battered quite hard, but again, it looks very corrective to the downside. There's an awful lot of overlapping movement here. So in contrast to this impulsive movement to the upside, where, for example, this movement down here doesn't overlap this movement up here, and there's not really any overlap at all on the way up. On the way down, there's all sorts of overlapping movements. So this movement up here does overlap this movement down here. This movement up here overlaps this movement down here. And this movement up here overlaps this movement down here. So that's corrective. That means it's against the trend. And so we should push higher. And I think we'll push to new all-time highs. And I still believe we're going to get a Christmas rally. So that's quite traditional, for whatever reason, we tend to get Christmas rallies. So I think that we're going to get a rally through to the end of this year. And I think we're going to see all-time highs for Bitcoin, Ethereum. XRP is beginning to look like it's ready to turn around. We've had this potentially deep wave 4, which was an A down, a triangle B wave, then a sharp C wave down. And this is the terminal thrust down from a triangle. So that's the final move in this cycle. And then we expect movement to go upwards. So we had a strong movement upward, corrective movement downwards, and now we're starting to move upwards again. So again, I'm very positive XRP, and I believe we're probably quite likely to see all-time highs for XRP as well. Solana has been, again, looks quite nice. I'm not sure whether we could move straight up here past this 255 level, or whether we could see a triangle. It's hard to say at the moment, but what I can say is from this point here of $254, we appear to be, again, corrective to the downside. So this movement up here and here overlap this movement down here. There's quite a bit of overlap there. So I'm thinking this is a 3 down, a triangle, then a 5 down. So it's basically an A, a B, and a C down. So I'm expecting upward movement. Not necessarily a triangle. I'll remove that just because it's completely uncertain. It's just a possibility at the moment. So I think that we've seen, again, this little capitulation wick down here, and we're starting to see some nice green candles. And we did also have, as you can see here, some hidden bullish divergence, I should say. So here we have higher highs in price, and you ignore the wicks, by the way, when you're doing this. So higher highs in price and corresponding lower lows in RSI. That's telling you there's likely to be a continuation of this upward movement. So a continuation upward in price. So that's quite a good indicator. It's pretty reliable, not 100%, of course, but it is quite reliable. So I'm quite hopeful with that. Link, again, has been absolutely battered, but there are signs of a potential turnaround here. I expected us to turn around from this point. We did sink a little bit lower, but again, it looks like a corrective move to the downside. I'm hoping, if we cross over this point here with price, and that point there was somewhere around the 1370. So, a dollar higher from where we are. That would give me a lot more confidence. And then if we were to cross here, a little bit higher again, $15, gives me much more confidence that we're going to be pushing higher. So I'm still tentative in my outlook, but erring towards the positive, quite a bit more positivity, actually, with, all the signs are there. we've seen with interest rates, we've seen with fear and greed, and we've seen with the wave outlook, and we've seen with divergences as well. Once again, I can actually see divergence here, where we see again hidden bullish divergence. So we've got basically higher lows in price, and we've got corresponding lower lows in RSI. I can just draw that on very quickly for you to see. So again, ignore the wicks. So you've got basically a higher low in price there, and then we look at corresponding. So from here, we can see that we have lower lows in RSI. So that's pointing upwards, that's pointing downwards. This is what's known as hidden bullish divergence. So we'd expect this uptrend to continue. So again, this is looking really good as far as I'm concerned. I think we are going to see a continuation of this initial encouraging upward movement. The nice green candles there following these wicks lower. So that's really good. JASMY again, absolutely battered, gone below my expectation. Let's just see again here. We don't actually have bullish divergence here, but I do think, again, the move down was probably corrective. I'll need possibly to scroll out a little bit more just to see where we are with this. Yeah, I mean, from the top here, from this local top here, it does look like maybe a 535 correction, possibly, or it could even be a 5, then possibly a triangle. It's hard to see right now. But I think overall, it's some kind of A, B, C. So whilst I've got that label Z there, it's basically some kind of A, B, and this B up here. Just depends which fractal you're looking at, but some kind of A, B, C movement down. I think it's highly likely, and again, we can just begin to see a really nice, promising looking lower capitulation wick there on price. I'm beginning to see some green candles. So again, there's been a lot of negativity swirling around JASMY, but I think that it should follow the rest of the market higher. As long as we see that market move higher, I think JASMY will certainly follow. And again, litecoin has been battered, but again, this looks very, very corrective to the downside. Even this movement down here overlapped by this movement up here. So very, very corrective movement here, sideways, choppy, corrective. Beginning to see some green candles to the upside. I'm hoping that will continue. S&P has actually been reasonably positive. Obviously, we saw a bit of a sell-off. I'm looking at the daily here. If you look at the 4-hour, you'll probably see a bit more, a bit deeper. But I think potentially ABC is already complete. We've got a really nice green candle here, and I think it's likely we're going to see pushing higher on the S&P. I think that's probably enough today. Obviously, there's lots more assets. I'll just touch finally on pound against dollar. I like pound against dollar because it actually has a positive correlation with Bitcoin. And we've seen a very clear ABC correction. I think this is pretty clear. And again, this movement up here clearly overlapped this movement down here. So this is, it could be potentially, let's just see. No, this is actually a three down, 3 up. And it could be a 5 or a 3 down, but either way, it looks like a correction, ABC correction. So, and this looks like a nice little impulse, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the upside, correction down. So I think we're going to push higher. So with this, there's a really nice correlation, as I say, with Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, Bitcoin in particular. So we've had an ABC down. I think we are going to push higher on pound dollar. And I think that will correlate very nicely with upward movement in other cryptos. So again, there's so many more we could be looking at, but I think that's enough for today. And hopefully it gives you a flavor of what my expectations are with some positivity to come. We've been waiting long enough. I know there's patience. There's a lot of people now becoming extremely negative in the market, and that is a sign there's a likely turnaround to come. So thank you so much for listening. I hope that was helpful and encouraging.